Welcome, and in today's video I'm hopefully bringing my 8-year-old BMW R1200GS back into modern times with the addition of this. This is the Carpuride 702 model and the BMW version as well. I shall explain more about that later on. I've often thought my GS cockpit looks a little bit too old, a little bit too dated, a little bit too analogy. And it's one of the reasons, I don't mind admitting, I've thought about upgrading the bike just to sort of make it that bit newer. And after all, when you're riding a bike, the thing you can see as the rider is the cockpit. I just fancied something a bit newer, so I'm delighted to get my hands on this. However, I have to say, it's not all about aesthetics. I need to make sure this works well too. So first things first, let's get it unboxed. Now, I've seen on other reviews of this that people sort of give out about the packaging. I mean, sorry, but I just sort of throw the packaging away anyway. And there it is. There is the screen. It's big. First impressions, it's big. This is the 7-inch version. You can get the 5-inch version. So let's take this out. And as I mentioned there, this is the BMW version. So if you have the sat-nav preparation on your GS, this comes with the attachment on the back, hopefully just to slot in to that mount already on your dash, and it's a case of plugging in one wire. So it does say on the side of the box, which I noticed before I started this video, which always makes me laugh. Easy to install, 10 minutes to do, no skills are required. We'll see about that. Right, I normally get people to do this sort of stuff for me. So there are a variety of power options. That's the USB version as well. I personally wouldn't use the USB unless I had to, because of course, whilst everything is waterproof, in fact the unit itself is IP67 rated. So I'm going to test this. Before I bring you this video, I shall be testing this for a month. So you're watching this video after I've had this for a month, because I want to make sure it is waterproof and everything. But the USB, of course, you can't waterproof a USB connection. That will go rusty. That's the other connector there, so you can hardwire it. You do need a live switch to connect it if you hardwire it. I'll maybe talk more about that later on. And that's the RAM mount. If you don't have a BMW cradle, or indeed you want to mount it on any other type of bike, then you have all of the accessories. You can mount it on any bike, of course. Spare fuse, just in case I blow my fuse. And then obviously the instructions. I'll have a little look through them in a moment to see if they are Chinglish or English. And then, of course, the trusty old spanner. All right, let's get to work. Okay, so I'm going to remove my existing cradle. This cradle is an Amazon special for my iPhone 13 Pro Max. Well, actually, it'll fit any phone because it's on a spring there. It was only €50, but I'm becoming increasingly concerned about the vibration going into my iPhone, because we've all heard the horror stories about vibration from bikes affecting the stabilization or the floating sensor within an iPhone lens. So we'll just take that off there. I never used the Garmin sat-nav. I'm saying we'll take it off. First hurdle. There we go. So that's done. I never used a Garmin navigator because I've heard the horror stories about them as well. So hopefully this new system will just fit there. So here we go. Before you clip this in, make sure you take off the plastic covering of the terminals there, because that's obviously what marries with this in the cradle, and that's what powers it. So hopefully, because this lead is already connected as it was in the packaging, hopefully we can just clip it in and power it up straight away to see if it works. I'm somewhat skeptical, I have to be honest. So that just fits into the cradle like that. Yeah, it has clipped in there. Okay, that feels solid there. And we'll take the key out. There we go. So that's locked in. Well, key locked in as well. Right, time for the big moment. Well, fancy that. That's incredible. So if you have a BMW GS, it's a lot less than 10 minutes to install. It's about 1.5 minutes. Normally when I tackle things like this, it takes at least a day. So before we do head out, we'll obviously pair this up with the phone. Bluetooth, see where it is. It's in discoverable mode. There we go, the Carpuride. There's also a Carp BT Trans. I'm sure that's for this system as well. I'm going to press that one. The Carpuride B801. Oh, there we go. Passkey, pair, allow, contacts and favorites, sync, allow. Okay, and it's just updated the time on the system, so I now know, because there's a little tick next to the Bluetooth box as well, so it's actually using my phone now, which is great. Use CarPlay. Timeout. Okay, wireless CarPlay connect timeout. We'll press allow. Look at that. That's just come up. So all working. Right. I can't wait to get out on the road with this. So this is a great start. Wow, looks good as well. Great size screen. Right, time to get out on the bike. Well, this is my first ever trip out with the Carpuride. It's not a particularly over sunny day, but first impressions are the screen is very, very clear. It's also very big. I wasn't expecting it to be this big. It's a 7-inch screen. I think I've already mentioned that Carpuride do a 5-inch screen. Incidentally, when I did fit the screen, it was sat slightly to the right. Now, as well as upsetting my OCD, it did mean that when I was on full lock turning the bike around the garage, the brake fluid reservoir here was knocking against the screen. But that just basically made me straighten centre everything rather. Now it's in a perfect position. I also angle it up a little bit as well. Now I don't want to angle it too far up because you'll catch the sun glare then. So it's well, it's perfect for me. It does come with the attached or the fixed little hood to protect the screen. I'm not sure how good that would be, but I've also considered mounting this Osmo camera on top of that hood to look back at me for that reverse angle, which I may well do. So yeah, I really feel like I'm not a dinosaur anymore. I feel as though I'm back into the future. I've got Apple CarPlay. I mean, what more does a bike I want? I'm really impressed with this. One thing I've noticed in the settings is that the screen does not have auto brightness. It does have manual brightness, of course, so if you're riding at night and the screen is too bright for you, which, believe me, it will be, because I'm not sure you're getting the full effect on the camera here, but the screen is extremely bright, which is brilliant. But you will have to pull over at night, or if you're riding with that transition from day into night, you will have to pull over just to set the manual adjustment on the screen brightness. The other thing is I've connected my intercom within this helmet to my phone and not to the unit. I was struggling connecting it to the unit, if I'm honest, and the only thing I seem to be missing at the moment, not having it connected to the unit, is the equalizer, the sound equalizer. I can still operate all of the functions of the phone on the unit and of maps as well. Actually, on that note, just check nobody's behind me. We'll see how sensitive the screen is. There you go. And press start. I did feed this in before I left. Oh yeah, well, it's very sensitive, the screen. These gloves are just slightly too long for me, which is what the pause was there. So that is not the screen's fault. I will test the screen, however, with my thermal gloves, which are not touch screen sensitive. These ones are. Now, funny, I've put the GPS into satellite mode, so I can actually see the real terrain, and it's quite dark there. So I may well go back into the normal mode, which I normally have it in, which is the sort of white background. So yeah, within my first 5 minutes of being out with the unit so far, I am so impressed. It was really quick to install. It works. It's very bright. It's very responsive. And I can do everything which Apple CarPlay allows you to do. I don't have an Android phone, so I can't test the Android side of things for you, and I'm sorry about that. But I might have mentioned, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is in my pocket. That was another reason I really wanted to try one of these screens, because when I'm out vlogging, I'm forever stopping and taking photographs, and it's one more thing to do to detach my phone from the cradle, and normally I have the charger plugged into it, so you have to unplug that. All these things don't take very much time at all, of course, but it's just one less hassle. So if you're a vlogger, especially, then you'll know exactly what I mean. And so when I want to stop and take photographs now, the phone is in my pocket, and God forbid if I ever had an accident and I came off my bike and was separated from my bike, then the phone is in my pocket. So I can ring for help rather than trying to find the phone, because no doubt it would come loose from the cradle I had if I was ever to have an accident. Anyway, we won't talk negatively like that. But I always fancied the idea of having an independent unit like this. The other thing which I really love about this is that if you're to park in an unsavoury city centre, or indeed outside of a hotel for the night, well, you saw how quick it was for me just to clip this into the cradle. You can unclip this cradle and take it with you into the hotel or wherever you are. It is the sort of thing, especially with it being as big as it is, which would certainly attract prying eyes. I certainly wouldn't be leaving up my bike parked up for long with this attached, because it is, I mean, it's very attractive looking. I see that it only offers you certain apps, which is fine, because it's not like you're going to be playing games on your motorbike when you're riding along. But the fact that I'm allowed to listen to my audiobooks and music and make phone calls on the move, and I know you shouldn't be doing any of that, of course, but it's nice to have at the same time. I also think it looks great on the cockpit. Now, the other thing to note as well, obviously I'm on an R1200GS with everything analog down below, and because of the size of the screen, it is cutting off the top of the rev counter. I can see everything else perfect, but if you were to have a 1250 or a 1300GS, this would definitely cut off the information on top of your existing TFT screen. And I know up at the top you have stuff like how much fuel is left and lots of other sort of vital information. I can't remember off the top of my head what is at the top of your screens. But on a 1200, it's only cutting off the top of my rev counter, so that doesn't bother me at all. You might be bothered if you were on a newer model. However, I'm sure you could fiddle around. That's part of the fun, installing tech onto your bike, isn't it? You can fiddle around until you find the right sort of mounting spot, the right angle. And as with this model, it comes with the RAM mount, so you could also just clip it on the GPS prep bar there and just keep it raised a little bit higher if you did indeed want to see the information on your existing TFT screens. Yeah, I'm mad into my audiobooks at the minute, so it's great that this has Audible as well as a few other apps which you can play your audiobooks and podcasts on. So I've got a suite of electronics now in front of me. Oh yeah, Inspector Gadget. Obviously I've got my reverse camera here. I've got my GPS remote here to start and stop the Osmo camera on my chin. And then I've got my main screen now, the hub of all activity. You can pop an SD card in here as well, with photographs and whatever else on. Don't know why you would want to do that, to be honest, but some might. There is a function where you can just press a button to hide screen, and I suppose that would be very handy if you're negotiating heavy traffic all of a sudden and you're distracted by the screen. I'll just let this car pass, and it's with that button there, display off. So yeah, that is very handy if you just wanted to concentrate on what was happening around you right at the time. Oh, there you go. There's my diary telling me what I've got on for tomorrow as well. This is brilliant. It's brilliant. Okay, that's enough for the moment. I've had the system for a couple of weeks now. It hasn't skipped a beat. I am finding it difficult to test it in wet weather because it hasn't actually rained in Ireland. Imagine that. I think that's a first. But I will test that in the near future, and if you stay subscribed to my channel, I'll give you further updates if I don't get any rain before the end of this testing. So yeah, thoroughly impressed with it. Again, I don't know if this is down to the system or down to my ineptitude. I can't seem to load apps like Kalimoto onto the system, which is a sort of route finder app, so it should be able to be allowed to go on the system. And I'm having hit and miss problems with my intercom. I own a Sena SRL2 intercom, and it really doesn't like speaking to this system. Sometimes I can get it linked and then it loses the connection. Not sure why I would even need it connected to this system, but a lot of people say, yeah, your system has to be the hub in the middle of your phone connected to the system and then your intercom connected to the system. As far as I can see, all I would get out of that is the sound equalizer, which is built into this to make your sound possibly a little bit better. When it was connected, I phoned my wife over the intercom. She said I was breaking up and it wasn't clear at all. And on the same ride, I then disconnected, or actually it disconnected my phone itself. Sorry, it disconnected my intercom itself. So I then connected my intercom to my phone, rang my wife again, and she said it was crystal clear, no problems. So I dare say the system needs a little bit of fine-tuning, and probably a little bit of operator fine-tuning as well. I'm not blaming all of this on the system. But it's a gorgeous day, so I'm not complaining about anything. Apart from these 3 cars in front of me, which is driving me mad. I have to get past them. And here's my favourite little cafe of the moment. This is the other thing I love about this system. When you pull up outside your cafe, just switch off and go in. No need to disconnect your phone out of a cradle and take the charger lead out there, because your phone's already in your pocket. How brilliant is that? And you know when the bike powers down in, I think, is it 2 minutes time? That switches the screen off as well. So yeah, it's just one less hassle, one less thing to think about. How many times have you gone into the cafe or wherever you need to be, like a petrol station, and realised that you've left your phone in the cradle? It's happened a lot to me. So I'm back in the really good garage after nearly a month of ownership with the Carpuride 702 BMW. I am going to start with a few negatives. In fact, that's too negative. I'm going to start with a few not quite so sures, first of all. And the main one is really the size of it. The 7-inch display, whilst it works amazing on a GS or any other big adventure bike for that matter, it's not going to fit the majority of other bikes. It's too big. Now, with my sort of old man's eyesight, I love the luxury of a big maps display. And also when you're wearing gloves, to have the bigger screen, you can hit the icons a lot easier than I suspect you will be able to on a 5-inch. I know when I'm trying to hit the icons on my iPhone 13 Pro Max with gloves on, just forget it. I'll come on to the glove situation in a minute. Another not quite so sure is the auto brightness. That would be a lovely feature. I'm just wondering if Carpuride could maybe introduce that in a future firmware upgrade, rather than having to pull in when you're within that transition of daytime into nighttime and you just need to dull that screen down. The other thing which I would love to see on future products, and maybe that's another firmware upgrade as well, is compatibility with the WYSI wheel on a BMW. I mean, if it's sitting in the cradle, Why can't the Wizzy Wheel work with it? That would be, to be honest, that would nearly be the icing on the cake. That would make the product excellent for me if you could use it with the Wizzy Wheel. And I only ask that because the screen isn't really too sensitive. After a month of ownership, I found that even with, I must own, I think I mentioned there on the VT, I own a dozen pair of gloves, and I really struggled with all of the gloves, really getting precise movement on the screen. However, as soon as I take the gloves off, which means you've got to pull in, stop what you're doing, take the gloves off, and then scroll around the screen to get what it was you're looking for. No bad thing either, let me tell you, if you have to stop. The intercom problem, here is a negative, I suppose. The intercom problem, and again, that could be my SRL2 not being able to talk to this. Again, future firmware upgrades. I know that all of this can be fixed in future firmware upgrades, but my SRL2 Sena intercom just does not like the system at all. And as I've mentioned again in the VT, I'm not sure what I'm losing anyway, because my Siri still works from my microphone within the intercom to my phone, which then relays the message to the Carpuride system. So I can still do everything anyway. I'm just not sure what I'm missing out. Actually, if you know, let me know in the comments, will you? The big thing I really wanted a screen for was after doing the Northumberland 250 route a few months back now, where I really wanted to have my GPX maps as an overlay, and I cannot work that out at all. Again, that could be me, not the system. Again, let me know in the comments below. But I would love to have the luxury of following a GPX route on a big display like that. That, again, would be brilliant. Right. That's it for the not quite so sures. Positives. It definitely makes my bike look modern. It has brought it up to the 21st century standard. I love the way the cockpit looks. It just feels like I'm riding a new bike. And to be honest, that's one of the main things I would be buying the screen for, like that. Really love the way it makes the bike look. So it's done exactly what I would be buying one for. It also eliminates the need to keep the phone on the bike. I've talked about that quite a bit. You saw when I pulled up outside the cafe there, just having my phone in my pocket, it's a luxury. And you know, when you fill up with fuel and whatever else, just having your phone on you at all times. And also, as I mentioned, God forbid if you had an accident. The other hugely positive thing, I've owned it for a month and it's 100% reliable. It just works. It's a beautiful piece of hardware. Looks great, works great. It's solid as well. I can't believe I haven't had the opportunity to get it soaked with a bit of rainwater. I would have done this sort of spray a hose pipe over it, but I've seen in a few other vloggers' videos on YouTube, they've done the hose pipe test, so I'm pleased they risked it. I don't want to risk it, but I will keep you updated in the future about that. The other positives I have down here, very bright, and I'm not quite sure if it works in the rain, as I mentioned. The other thing is it's very quick startup, and the auto power off as well is a great feature. So you're not having to sort of wait for a minute after you turn your ignition on for that to fire into life. And I know with OEM models like that on previous models of the Africa Twin, I don't know about the new one, but previous models of the Africa Twin, the riders have had problems waiting for those systems to fire into life, sometimes waiting for a minute. This happens instantly, and you can already set off on your ride whilst the phone is then connecting to the system as well. So very quick start up and shut down. That's pretty much it. Apart from saying a huge thanks to Carpuride for sending me this. Apologies for being skeptical at the beginning, but it was it was technology I'd never really ventured into before, and it almost seemed a little too good to be true. Now I know what the whole system is about and what it does. Basically, it's just a mirroring system of your phone. So that's not a bad thing. Would I buy one with my own money? Yes, I absolutely would, because this is very reasonably priced at around €350. And actually, on that note, Carpuride have given me a few discount offers, which you'll find in the blurb below. I also have, I think there's something like 15% off if you buy through my affiliate link. But on top of that, there's another €50 or $50 off with a voucher, which is also linked below as well. Right, that's pretty much it. I'm just scrolling down the laptop here to see if there's anything else I need to mention. I don't think there is. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you've learned anything from this video, please follow me. It does wonders for the channel. I shall be back on YouTube 8 o'clock next Saturday morning. Thanks a million for watching this review. Dave Perry, Really Good TV, over and out.